Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be going over something very well known throughout the world, not just in the gun community, and is also probably one of the coolest things to come out of Israel since Jesus Christ. That thing being this here. That is a Desert Eagle, chambered in 50 Action Express. It's empty for now, just so you can see. But I'd like to go over a few quick talking points and then tell you whether or not I personally believe this thing is worth buying. So, essentially, my quick talking point is going to be the history, and I'd like to keep that as brief as possible because I can get off on a tangent from time to time. Essentially, my first talking point is going to be the history. Second is personal experience and features on the firearm that I actually like, and some that I think are odd, I guess. And then we'll be doing some tests, and then I'll tell you whether or not I believe this thing was worth buying. Now, the 50 AE or the Desert Eagle, both kind of manufactured and presented, designed in 1983. They've bounced around quite a bit since then as to who manufactures it and where they manufacture it, but this is what the point of this firearm is this particular cartridge here. As you can see, it's very large. That's the 50 Action Express. My personal opinion is that there is no reason to buy a Desert Eagle unless you're going to do this. This is the only reason you have to purchase a Desert Eagle. Now, the reason I say that is because the firearm was designed around this. At some point, and this may still hold true, but there are larger calibers, and I'm not sure that they do the same thing, but at some point this was the largest pistol cartridge that could be fired in a magazine-fed semi-automatic handgun. That's exactly what we're looking at today. The Desert Eagle is semi-automatic, it is magazine-fed, it is a handgun, and it shoots the 50 Action Express. They make them in other various models or calibers, such as the 44 Magnum, as well as the 357. Don't do that. Don't comment. Oh, well, you can. Be my guest. Comment that you have one in 44 and you love it or whatever. But reality being, there are better guns chambered in those other cartridges that I would recommend buying over this in particular. So, that's pretty much it for the history. I'm going to stop there so I don't go on too long. Now I'm going to move on to some features about the gun that I find quite interesting. So, as you can see, it's a very large handgun. It's very heavy. But what is interesting about this is that it is not short recoil operated, nor is it blowback. It is actually gas operated. So beneath the barrel rides a gas tube similar to an AR-15. And again, right here you see a bolt. And that is actually quite similar to what you'd find in an AR-15 as well. So essentially, this part of your slide that actually moves functions as a bolt carrier. So it's a gas operated semi-automatic handgun that shoots a 50 caliber to some extent. Now, that's one of the things that I find quite interesting, because there are very few other, well, I'll say that, but there are other handguns that function on a gas system, but this is the most notable, most famous, and that's one of the reasons that I'm going to start getting into my personal experience. Before I do, another feature about this is that it's incredibly heavy. That, in my opinion, is beneficial for this particular firearm because you are firing a very large cartridge. I mean, look at this thing. This is a 325 grain full metal jacket. So that's really why it's so heavy, is to help reduce how much recoil is actually felt, because realistically this is not much of a wrist breaker as some of the larger caliber revolvers might be. This doesn't really break your wrist, and I think it has something to do with the fact that it is as heavy as it is. Now that we're past that, let's talk about personal experience. So I'll tell you, I haven't had any negative experiences with this thing just yet. I haven't shot many rounds because it's remarkably expensive. That is another personal experience talking point, is that this is very pricey. After everything's said and done, you're looking at about $1,800 for a handgun like this. Now, you can get up in the 3,000s if you decide to do something stupid like tiger stripes or gold or anything that is completely unnecessary and ridiculous. I will never do that. You will rarely find that I have a gun that is so snazzy and stupid looking. But there's that. So another personal experience talking point is the fact that if you find yourself buying as many firearms as I, at some point you lose that excitement. You know, when you first buy your first firearm ever, the first thing you do is you take it out, you look at it, you're, you know, practicing with it every single day. It's the coolest thing ever. Well, at some point, once you get into the 20s or 30s or 40s or wherever it is, it starts feeling like a shirt. You know, like, yeah, I have 45 t-shirts, but only one of them is my favorite. Now, the Desert Eagle gave me a different feeling. I will be completely honest when I say that. When I finally got this thing in my hands and everything was said and done, I was giddy as a girl. And that feeling lasted to me for over 2 weeks. Periodically, I'd take it out of the box, pick it up, look at it, and that is something that I gotta say, I think anyone would feel that way after purchasing such a thing. So there's that. The other thing that I'd like to mention is the fact that you don't have to be a gun guy to know what this is. I mean, it's in every video game. It's in very, very big, famous movies, and for a good reason. It's a famous firearm. So there's that. And really, it's based around this, the anime titty of pistol cartridges. Now, that's really it. I mean, it supersedes the gun community and goes into the realm of pop culture. So this is why you might find yourself with a desire to own something like this. Now we'll move into testing. So our first test is going to essentially just be a mag dump, because it seems to me, based on many forums that I've read and other things, that there is a myth. I don't know that that's a myth. A common experience where people say that the Desert Eagle is unreliable. It jams. You wouldn't make it through a whole magazine. So what we're going to do is we're going to dump a mag, and this is just for the boys. I mean, I'm firing like $20-something downrange in a matter of a few seconds just to try and prove a point, or either prove a point or realize that it's true. So what we're going to do is take this 7-round magazine and we're going to just empty it out. That is the entire magazine capacity in 50 AE. So let's go ahead and do that. Make sure you got ears on, because this thing is not friendly to those without protection. Myth misproven, disproven, busted, whatever. Got through it, no problem. Hard to keep a good grip on it. Might have seen me bounce around a bit, but that's not the point. So there's that. Okay, so second test is going to be the 2-liter penetration test, and I'm shooting 325 grain full metal jacket. I've got 5 2-liter set up here. So far, the only thing that's made it more than, well, really, the Beowulf and the 12-gauge slug have both made it through 3. So we're going to see if we can get similar results, and maybe even more. I'm hoping to surprise myself with this one, because I don't know the results. Now, so I'll fire from about, I'd say 15 yards, and see how many 2 liters we can get through. More than I expected. Probably should have got more 2 liters, but 5 ain't gonna save you. I mean, it went clean through everything. I don't think it even thought about stopping. So so far, the 50 Action Express has made it through more than 50 Beowulf and a 12-gauge slug. Now, that being said, when I was testing the Beowulf, I did use some different rounds. I used hollow points. So at some point, I'll do a comparison side by side for the boys. But so far, yes, this has made it through more 2 liters than anything else. So 5 at least. So the next test, let's move on to that. So our third and final test is this. It is CMU blocks, and we're going to see if it can make it through 4 of them. So let's just do that. Same distance, same round, and we'll see how far it gets. So, as you can see, pretty clean hit, broadside, and it looks like it just blew into this guy and cracked the second half. So these other 3 are reusable, but I think I'm just going to do what I can to destroy this anyway, and then I'll tell you whether or not I believe this is worth buying. Well, fellas, I managed to make a mess and only get through 2 of these CMU blocks. So, kind of odd. I was expecting better results, honestly. I may have been hitting right in the bridge here, but either way, it should have done more damage in my opinion. But mostly that's because I'm thinking of the 50 Beowulf, which may be a faster moving cartridge, and it did do more damage. Now, what do I think? Is this worth buying? I'm gonna go ahead and say a big surprising no. There are much better options. There were much better things I could have spent $1,800 on. In my personal opinion, I don't think it's worth buying. It's impractical. Don't get me wrong, and people are going to think, oh, you don't think it's worth buying. I don't, unless you have the money to spend and money to waste, because honestly, that's what you're doing here. Even though the 50 Beowulf has a very good purpose and it's proven to be much tougher and more reliable than this, or more devastating in my opinion. So in my personal opinion, no, the Desert Eagle is not worth buying. I'm going to give a special mention to 2 guns that I should have purchased, one being a Steyr AUG, and then the other being the Arsenal SAM 7K 34. I would really have preferred, in all honesty, to have either one of those two in comparison to a Desert Eagle. Now, as cool as a Desert Eagle is, rounds are going very high right now. I mean, unreal. The cost of this ammunition, I'm talking like up to $3 a round, and that's crazy. With the SAM 7K 34, I've got shit tons of 7.62 by 39. I could have easily fired. I could afford to get more. It makes sense. It's a milled AK, so it's tried and true. It's one of the best on the face of the planet, and realistically, probably the best available AK pistol right now. Should have bought that. Should have gotten the Steyr because it's another gun that is well known. It's super cool, it's badass, and it is chambered in 5.56, so something that you can afford and is accessible. So there's that. A little bit of buyer's remorse, but you know what? At least I've got a Desert Eagle and I don't have to buy a lifted truck to overcompensate for anything. That being said, I really hope everybody had a fantastic year. I'm trying to close this one out with a bang, you know, and I hope you guys have a fantastic and a safe new year, and I always really appreciate your time, and of course, God bless the great state of Texas.